It's Peter King joining us here. Let's go out to the Boxer and Gerson guest line. On the line is Odyssey NFL insider Peter King. Insider calls brought to you by Old Spice. Men have skin too. Peter, how you doing? FP's in for Mark Willard. And what do you think of this last four standing in the NFL?
Oh, I think they're going to be fun. Hi, FP. Good to talk to you. By the way, I might be the only person who knows that you hit 17 home runs for the Montreal Expos.
Wow,
that's something that Tom Brady can't say, by the way.
Peter, I can't
even something that Brady never accomplished.
Peter, I didn't even know that, Peter. He's blushing, Peter. Peter, quick story, and we got to get to football because football rules, as you know, but John Hughes was a scout for the Expos, and when Tom Brady signed, he brought him to Candlestick Park when I was an Expo. And he shadowed me in batting practice all day, this skinny 18-year-old kid. And the idea was to get Brady to sign with the Expos and not go to Michigan and play football. So we got him in the locker room, and my mom went to University of Michigan. We got him in the clubhouse after BP, and we were telling him, like, don't play for the Expos. The Expos suck. They're cheap. And why wouldn't you go to Michigan and play in front of 100,000 people every game? And you're a good-looking dude. Peter, I didn't know this story until like his third Super Bowl. The Boston Globe called me, and they told me that was Tom Brady. I thought it was just some skinny kid that followed me around. Wow. So there's this like urban legend. I had nothing to do with it, that I convinced Tom Brady to play football instead of baseball. That
really is an incredible story. And you know, to me, I think Brady once told me that, I think after like his third year as a starter, he said, you know, I was starting to feel after every game the way I felt after I caught 9 innings. He said, because you have no idea what it feels like and what your knees feel like, you know, when you're catching every day. And I said to myself, am I destined to feel this way? And that was kind of the birth of all the stuff that he did in taking care of himself and all that. But yeah, I remember you, and for some reason I remembered that you played for the Expos, and I thought it was cool. And I just looked up Baseball Reference, so there you are. Wow, Peter! 7 jacks in one season. Yeah, you were a power hitter, man.
Yeah, you know, Peter. It's just like that Olympic Stadium couldn't hold me. No, but that's cool. That story about Tom Brady comes up every time he's in the Super Bowl. I've never met Tom. I'm a huge Tom Brady fan. Obviously, he's from the Bay Area, but I didn't even know that was Tom Brady till probably I was retired for 10 years.
That's really cool.
So the playoffs, the last 4 teams standing. Before we get to those teams, Peter, I got to ask you, and it's something that's near and dear to my heart, this whole Brock Purdy story. And usually when a guy is the underdog, the Mr. Irrelevant, the undersized guy that arrives on the scene, that we all as a country wrap our arms around, that Cinderella story kind of thing. And there's so much hatred for Brock Purdy out there. I can't figure it out. Maybe even within Niner Nation at times where fans are jumping off the bandwagon. Do you have a theory on why this is? Because I have some, but I want to hear what you have to think about it.
Well, you know, as you know, because we've talked about it a lot on this show, I think a lot of it has to do with the phrase that you guys coined, which is draftism. If he was drafted 262nd overall, how good can he really be? And look, I think it took Tom Brady at least till his second Super Bowl to convince people you don't need to say in every story in the first paragraph that Tom Brady was the 199th pick in the draft. You don't need to. Just watch the games. And in my opinion, I think that people really have not watched the games very closely if they're being critical. Now, look, we happen to be at a time right now where if you're going to have some questions about Brock Purdy, it is right here, it is right now. Because his last 2 real meaningful games, you know, against Baltimore and obviously against Green Bay, have not been his best games by any stretch. But I think overall, when I look at it, I don't have big questions about him, particularly though with Deebo Samuel missing. I got some questions about how well he's going to play this week and whether Deebo's going to be 65% or whatever he's going to be, but he's not going to be fully healthy. That hurts this team. Now, last thing I would say just about Purdy as a player, I think one of the things that people look at when they look at him is, well, he's so small, and most of the time he's not throwing the ball deep downfield. So does he really have the arm to compete with Josh Allen throwing 60-yard bombs that land in Stephon Diggs' hands, even though he doesn't catch it? And I would say about that, it is not a fluke to have a 9.6 yards per attempt average for a season. That's one of the best in NFL history. That means that every time the ball leaves Brock Purdy's hands, in essence, complete or incomplete, he's throwing for a first down. So there's that. And I also say, just go back and watch the 4 touchdowns he threw against Dallas in week 5 this year. And in Next Gen Stats had a great stat about that. He's the only player in the 8 years that Next Gen has been doing stats who threw the ball for 4 touchdowns, and every one was on the move outside the pocket. No one's ever done that in the last 8 years. So he's not one of these guys who is only acting as Kyle Shanahan's proxy. He makes some good plays on his own.
And as we look back at the Green Bay game, Peter, do you see the performance as bad because of 3 bad quarters, or actually a good performance because of what he did in the fourth quarter to lead them back?
That was a tremendous job by him in the fourth quarter. 6 of 7 on the last drive. That's one of the reasons why, we've talked about this a lot. He is not one of those guys who ever, at least to me, the game's going to be too big for him, or he's going to get tight because of what's happening on the field. This guy has played so much football. And, we've talked about this also. I think not only is it that he started 46 games in a Power 5 conference, but I think there was a great advantage to starting 46 games for a middling team in a Power 5 conference, because so much was on his shoulders. And he went and played before 100,000 people in Austin, Texas. He went and played before 92,000 people in Norman, Oklahoma, as a big underdog. And so he's used to everything being on his shoulders. And, I don't think he minds. I don't think he cares. And I don't think he cares what anybody, from any of these places that don't think that Brock Purdy is some sort of illusion. I think that really doesn't matter to him.
Yeah, underdogs love to hear the noise. It's gas in their tanks. Trust me, I know a little bit about that. Peter, do you think that the Niners deserve to win that football game on Sunday?
Yes, Saturday. You always, because I think I'm one of those people who believe you always get what you deserve in sports. And that's why everybody loves sports. There's nobody who looks back at great football games in the past. I don't think many people do, who say, well, the only reason that the Giants beat the Bills in that Super Bowl back in 91 is because Scott Norwood, missed a kick 18 inches wide. Who cares? That is part of football. You miss a field goal, the other team wins. And same thing we saw in Buffalo the other day. You always get what you deserve in sports. And sometimes wins are fluky. I don't care. I think the 49ers deserve to win.
And now the 49ers up against everybody's darling, the underdog Detroit Lions. How do you size up the fighting Dan Campbells and whether or not they have momentum coming in, or are they in a little bit of a tough spot based on the fact that this game is going to be on the road and outdoors?
Well, I think they definitely have some momentum coming in, but unless the weather is brutal, I don't think it's really going to matter that much. I think the most impressive thing about the Lions is, and this is not hyperbole, this is absolute raw fact. Right now, they have, I believe, 8 players on their team who really threaten a defense. They have their 2 backs, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs. They have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was one of my first-team All-Pro receivers this year. I love this guy. He's so competitive. And they've got 5 wide receivers. And then they've got Sam Laporta. Obviously, every one of those guys say, well, everybody's got 5 wide receivers. Well, hang on a minute. Their 5th wide receiver is a guy named Khalif Raymond. He's a wispy guy, sort of a Smurfy guy, kind of like, if you remember the old days, kind of like a Gary Clark kind of receiver. Clark was built a little bit more solid, but Khalif Raymond, 14 yards a catch. Jamison Williams, 14.8 yards a catch. Josh Reynolds, 15.2 yards a catch. These are guys who are like 2, 3, 4, or 3, 4, 5 in their receiver group. So, listen, good luck in keeping up with all of those guys. That, to me, is going to be the hardest thing for the Niners, trying to figure out how to keep all of those guys accounted for who are such dangerous offensive weapons.
Peter, you worried at all about the Niners' defensive line and how they defended the run game? If you watched the first drive against the Packers, their offensive line dominated. Does this worry you at all Sunday?
Well, I mean, look, I don't think any team really goes into a game. I think every team goes into a game with the idea that we are going to be able to stop the run and we're going to be able to run the ball. Here's how we're going to do it. And the fact is, in this game, they allowed whatever it was. I think it was 5 yards a carry, and it was way up from where they were in the regular season. And that has to be an emphasis this week. I mean, look, everybody loves Aaron Jones. He's a really good, he's a feisty, tough runner. But you can't be allowing 5 yards a carry. You're going to lose games if you do that against teams that are deep. So that has to be an emphasis this week.
Peter King joining us here on 95.7 The Game. Insider Calls brought to you by Old Spice Gentleman's Blend Body Wash, providing exfoliation plus 24/7 moisturization because men have skin too. Let's kick it over to the AFC real quick, Peter, to get your thoughts on Baltimore and Kansas City. The Chiefs survived a game that was an instant classic, and it ended the way Buffalo Bills fans have games end in their nightmares with a missed field goal. Kansas City going for a second playoff game on the road at a very good and deep Baltimore team. How do you size up the AFC Championship game, Peter?
I hate to be boring about this, but as we watched the other day, I think Baltimore really made Houston one-dimensional. They totally shut down the run. And I think Kansas City comes into this game. They're not going to say it. They're not going to admit it. But as you watch how these playoffs have started, you see both against Miami and Buffalo that the Kansas City offense is running through Isaiah Pacheco. 41 touches in those first 2 games. And I think that the offense is going to run through him again. He has done a really, really good job. He runs angry. He runs hard. And I think that one of the things that Andy Reid is going to design this game to do is he's going to design the game to try to only give it to Lamar Jackson 8 or 9 times. They want to hold the ball. They know that they're not the Tyreek Hill kind of explosive team anymore. So I think this comes down to whether Kansas City can dictate how this game is played. And, on the other side, look, Lamar Jackson has not been a great playoff quarterback. He's only 2-3. But in those 5 games, 3 times he's rushed for 100 yards in the game, including the other day. And he is just so dangerous because he knows how to run without getting punished. There's very few quarterbacks in NFL history. He reminds me almost of Franco Harris, who a long time ago, everybody used to say, "Why do you run out of bounds?" He said, "Because I want to be here to play next week." And I think Lamar Jackson is a lot like that. He knows that in the last 2 years, he missed 34% of the Ravens snaps. That is enormous. And that can't happen for the Ravens to get where they want to go. So he is going to make sure he doesn't take the big hit. I think he's going to be able to run the ball well. The key is his defense going to be able to stop Pacheco? If they do, the Ravens will go to the Super Bowl.
A Franco Harris reference. That's this is like the first NFL name I knew as a kid. Peter, who do you think the NFL would like to see in the Super Bowl? And what's your take on all this Taylor Swift stuff? I'm a big fan. I think I'm not a Taylor Swift fan, but I think anytime you can get more eyes on a sport, it's a good thing. So who do you think, number one, the NFL wants to see in the Super Bowl? And are you a Swiftie?
I actually really like Taylor Swift. My daughter, who lives in Seattle, is an absolute nutjob Swiftie. Saw her twice on this tour. Had to spend too much money, and there was a lot of eye raising in her house, or eyebrow raising, I should say. But no, I think she's great. I think she is a hero to young people, and rightfully so. She's tough. She stands up for herself. I like her. I think she's really cool. And look, the stuff that happened the other day, I was in Buffalo, and it was weird and all that with Jason Kelce, but Jason Kelce and 15 beers are a combination of, that is going to make some interesting headlines. The one thing about who the NFL wants to see, I mean, look, they've gotten ridiculous numbers this postseason. How about 51 million people watch Buffalo and Kansas City, biggest divisional game of all time? It's ridiculous. When America really is getting, divided in what they watch on TV anymore, it's not just ABC, CBS, and NBC. There's 1,000 things you can watch on TV, and you can stream on your computer or your tablet, whatever. So I think that's an amazing achievement. And in my opinion, I think if you ask me what I think America would love to see, I think they'd love to see Detroit, which is the Cinderella of all Cinderella stories, and Mahomes, a rematch from the 1-point game that was the first game. Imagine the first game of the year and the last game of the year are the same. I think, look, whatever the Super Bowl is, it's going to be a sick rating, but I think that would get a lot of people to watch it.
Ned, grand opening, grand closing, you're right there, the first game and the last game. So what's on your dance card, Peter, for this weekend? Are you coming to San Francisco, or are you going to take the easy way out and stay back east and go to Baltimore?
No, I'm coming to San Francisco.
Yeah!
I took the easy way out last weekend. I did the Baltimore-Buffalo doubleheader, and I must say it was a tad nippy.
I was just going to say you checked the weather. It's 66 and sunny on Sunday.
Totally.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know. I haven't even looked. What is the forecast for the game?
66 and sunny.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, bring your shorts.
Wow. That's really fun. Well, good. I'll be happy with that. Plus, I've had a cough for like 10 weeks that I can't get rid of. So maybe if I go out and breathe some good air, I'll finally be able to get rid of it.
Yeah, well, come on out, Peter. And if you need a place to hang out and chat, doors open for you here at 95.7 The Game, as always.
That's great. Thanks a lot, fellas. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Peter. And, man, showering FP with praise, and got a baseball reference in there as well. That was Odyssey NFL insider Peter King. Insider calls are brought to you by Old Spice. Men have skin too. 17 bombs as an expo. It's impressive.